April 2001, a secret internal manual of one of the largest Japanese companies is created. Its creator, Fujio Cho, had no idea of the revolution he was about to cause in the industry around the world, starting with the United States. This manual contained information that had been created and perfected for over 80 years, revealing how to produce more, with higher quality, and improve the quality of life for employees. Fujio didn't write the document with the intention for it to reach the public one day. It was the manual on how Toyota functioned and operated. But what it contained and how it changed the entire industry is what I'll tell you in this video. Looking at Toyota today and everything it has done to revolutionize the industry, it seems like it has always been this way, with good management and prosperity. It almost seems like Toyota had an easy path because it has been growing since World War II and has a track record of consistent profits, but it wasn't quite like that. After World War II, the company faced a major crisis, and the response was to formalize the culture of the Toyota model, which emphasizes mutual trust and respect for all individuals involved with the company in some way. But the Toyota story began long before car manufacturing. To promote development, the Japanese government encouraged the creation of small-scale industries that spread throughout Japan, and by the end of the 19th century, weaving was an important industry within this model. Sakichi Toyoda's family was in the weaving business, and he was dissatisfied with the hard work he saw his mother, grandmother, and their friends doing in spinning and weaving. He wanted to find a better way to alleviate the suffering caused by their manual labor. For that, he had to get his hands dirty. When Sakichi developed his first automatic loom, there was no power source for the loom. So, he had to solve the problem of power generation. Steam engines were the most common source of energy at the time, so Sakichi bought a used steam engine and experimented with his looms using this source. He figured out how to make everything work through trial and error and direct experience, an approach that would later become part of the foundation of the Toyota model. And unknowingly, in 1926, and with the goal of helping his family, he ended up creating a management model that would be widely studied and serve as inspiration for companies to this day. The Toyota model has been built since the company's inception in 1926, when it was still a manufacturer of automatic looms. Sakichi Toyoda, the founder of the company, created Toyota Automatic Loom Works with a clear focus on exceptional management and emphasized how his workers should be treated. His main objective was to improve the lives of the women operating the looms, as the old looms would injure their fingers and were difficult to handle. The wooden automatic loom was designed to achieve two objectives: treat employees well and benefit the community. Later, this invention would be sold to the English company Platt Brothers, and the proceeds from the sale would be used to start Toyota Motor Company. It was with Sakichi's son, Kichiro, that Toyota began car manufacturing. Now you must be wondering why the company is called Toyota and not Toyoda, like the last name. Well, the main reason for spelling it with a T instead of a D is that the word Toyota in Japanese uses 10 strokes to write, while Toyota uses only 8. 8 is considered a lucky number in Japanese culture, so the name Toyota was chosen. Toyota was a family-based company rooted in the ethics of a small agricultural community, and its history is deeply ingrained in the seriousness of the people of Aichi. Aichi is a province in Japan known for its ethics, seriousness, and professionalism. In the beginning, Toyota was a small Japanese company that manufactured cars and struggled to survive. As Toyota grew, great leaders contributed their ideas and hard work to build a unique corporate culture that can be characterized as a company in constant learning. The Toyota production system is one of the results of this learning process. Known as TPS, it is an essential philosophy today known for its respect for people and continuous improvement. In order to manage Toyota, Kichiro went to Tokyo Imperial University to study mechanical engineering. There, he focused on engine technology and used the knowledge from Toyota Automatic Loom Works about casting and machining mechanical parts. Despite his formal education as an engineer, Kichiro followed in his father's footsteps and learned through practice, and like his father, he was passionate about innovations of all sizes. He made daily improvements to try to create better products. He bought cars from Ford and Chevrolet and dismantled them to understand how they were made. The first model, the AA, was developed based on American companies and marked the beginning of Toyota as an automobile company. But Kichiro couldn't bear the recurring financial crises of post-war Japan that hit Toyota hard. Salary cuts, strikes, and worst of all, layoffs. Kichiro, taking responsibility for the company's financial problems, stepped down as president in 1950. His perspective was that he had failed the company and failed its people. How could he continue to lead the company and receive money from it in this situation? A commendable attitude. Kichiro's cousin, Eiji Toyoda, took over the company. He led Toyota for decades, during the difficult times when the company fought for survival, and during the prosperous times when Toyota became a global company. Eiji never abandoned his idea of what motivates the company. People are Toyota's most important assets, and they determine Toyota's rise and fall. Toyota is famous for the Toyota production system, and companies worldwide want to implement this philosophy. In some cases of application, the results are impressive in certain areas but disappointing as a whole. The difficult-to-replicate standout is the strong human system, which for Toyota is the main ingredient for long-term competitiveness. The technical aspects and the human aspects work together to create a culture of teamwork for problem-solving. The technical aspects come in to expose the problems, while the human aspects are designed to develop, engage, and inspire people to solve these problems. Even though Toyota is a family company, the organizer of ideas didn't have the Toyota surname and was an essential part of the entire system. Taiki Ono, in his book, The Toyota Production System, states that it is essential to understand that the most important thing is not the system, but the creativity of human beings who select and interpret information. People and companies study the Toyota production system for years, so summarizing it would be like simplifying a complex problem. Culture is something that can be understood but difficult to teach, so any summary of TPS is too simplified. Taiki himself concluded this. There is a story among Toyota employees that Taiki tore up the initial versions representing TPS because he believed that describing its depth with a simple illustration would be impossible and a waste of time even to attempt. The system was always in constant evolution. The first principle is getting hands-on. One term used is Genkai Genbutsu, which generally refers to seeing the problem firsthand to understand it deeply, getting your hands dirty and learning through practice. Sakichi Toyoda invented the first wooden loom by getting his hands dirty. Kichiro and Eiji Toyoda learned the automotive business by getting their hands dirty, dismantling American cars and studying the details of their manufacturing. Just like the business foundations, the Toyota production system was developed by Taiki Ono through experiments and trials. Within the Toyota culture, there is no such thing as graduating and already being an expert. You need to prove that you are an expert by contributing in some way to elevate your experience. The way we learn has evolved significantly since the creation of TPS, but for Taiki, learning in a classroom was not a good thing, and students were taken to the factory floor so they could learn practically how things worked. But times were changing, and the concepts needed to be exportable, especially because Toyota was becoming international. And for the model to be exported, the processes needed to be documented, and thus, in 2001, the Toyota Way was born, a set of management principles from the world's largest manufacturer. With such a rapid increase in the number of employees outside of Japan, there was a need to establish a global personnel management system. This was particularly necessary because Toyota encountered different work cultures in different countries where it entered, and it was necessary to share the core management values of Toyota. The Toyota Way brought together the management philosophy and values that were passed down as implicit knowledge and made them systematically and visually understandable. The Toyota Way explained the 5 key concepts of challenge, kaizen, genkai jinbutsu, respect, and teamwork under the 2 main principles of continuous improvement and respect for people. It was distributed as a booklet to all Toyota affiliates inside and outside Japan. This is where Fujio Cho, the president of Toyota, comes in, who led the creation of the Toyota Way. He stated, "The Toyota Way defines the fundamental DNA of the company, which summarizes the unique and remarkable elements of our company's culture and success for all of us who work here. I ask all of you to maintain the attitude of continuously asking yourselves, is this the Toyota Way?" The way this model and document were created speaks volumes about the culture of Toyota. Fujio Cho wanted to convey this even when he was the president of a factory in the United States, with the simple intention of documenting the Toyota model, especially to teach American managers. The Toyota Way was the beginning of a major project to structure functions and is constantly evolving. And it didn't just stop at manufacturing, but extended to all sectors that could be structured, including sales, marketing, and finance. All of this is so that when a new employee joins the company, they can learn more quickly about their roles and the company's culture. But, of course, this did not come without its difficulties and challenges. Since Toyota began operating, its leaders have believed that the secret to the company's success lies in investing in its people. The culture is the reason for lean operations, for their cars reaching the market on time and within budget, for chief engineers deeply understanding the customers, for company executives anticipating long-term trends and having clear strategies, and for all employees working vigorously to achieve the company's annual plan. The Toyota model is above all a culture because the way people think and act is rooted in the company's philosophy and principles. Ultimately, the Toyota model is about respect for people and continuous improvement, which has not changed since the company was founded. Toyota carefully studies the local community and determines the best way to develop its culture when establishing itself in a new country. Experience has taught the company that it takes time and patience. Toyota Motor Manufacturing Company took 15 years in Georgetown, Kentucky, the first Toyota-owned assembly plant on American soil. Despite Toyota priding itself on being a continuously learning organization and having shortened the time needed to install its culture in other locations, the process still takes years to develop, especially when dealing with such different cultures as Japanese and American. Richard Nisbett, author of the book, The Geography of Thought, says that cognition is not the same everywhere. Cognition is the process of acquiring knowledge, and according to Nisbett, it can vary based on culture. He reached this conclusion through studies comparing Eastern and Western individuals. In the same scenario, what Westerners typically see are general categories of objects at a somewhat superficial level, while Asians see objects and the relationships between them in more detail. In a study, Japanese and American students at the University of Michigan briefly looked at aquarium pictures containing fish, frogs, plants, and rocks. Then, they were asked to recall what they had seen. The Japanese remembered 60% more about the background elements than the Americans and referred to the background object relationships twice as much. The conclusion was that Westerners prefer to think in abstract universal principles, while Eastern Asians seek context-appropriate rules. Eastern Asians can see the same situation in more detail than Westerners. In the 1970s and 1980s, Japanese companies challenged US dominance in many manufacturing industries. Initially, the challenge appeared in the form of imports, and many attributed Japanese success to a devalued currency, low labor costs, and unfair trade practices. However, Japanese companies increasingly brought their competitiveness to the US in the form of processes. The Toyota production system began to gain international attention. By 1998, Toyota used half the time of an American company to produce a car, but this started to change as American companies began adopting the system. The issue of exporting Japanese practices to other countries has been a subject of academic and business discussion for decades. In the book, Remade in America, by Jeffrey Leiker, this issue is thoroughly analyzed to see what happens to Japanese management systems when exported to the US. The conclusion revolves around the fact that the culture in the US has indeed evolved, and while not exactly the same as that of Japanese companies, the result can be highly effective. Exporting culture is much more challenging than it seems, but it does exist, and today we can have mass-produced products with improved product and process quality, waste reduction, increased efficiency, and cost reduction. In addition to these process and product contributions, we also see improvements in customer satisfaction by providing defect-free products and enhancements in all aspects of safety for employees and customers. So, despite some setbacks and difficulties along the way, the philosophy and ideas of one man in 1926 gained strength and ended up being exported worldwide, becoming a reference and transforming the global industry as a whole.